This is a THORNEWS presentation. THORNEWS presents Comet C-2012 S1 Ison. WTF NASA, seriously bro. Part 1 quadrillion. Alright ladies and gentlemen, we now have the final chapter in the Comet C-2012 S1 Ison epic saga. Alright, if you're new to the story, let me recap it for you. Some cracked out wino lying in the street told a reporter that Comet Ison could be the comet of the century and up to 15 times as bright as the full moon. And that every science publication ran with it, though no official professional scientists did, or will own up to the comet of the century name, man. And then I did 55 episodes, it was all weird, and then I got celestial egg on my face. And now we're just waiting for the Pigpen cloud to see if it does anything or if it's even there. Or my favorite weird theory was that it would be like laughing gas. So everybody get really happy and have fun during the 5 days that Earth passes through the cloud. Don't ask me, man. I've never worked a Hubble in my life. And hey, I don't know if you were there from the beginning of the 55 episodes, but this was never just about Comet Ison. It was about everything. Comet Ison is a metaphor. Alright, let me give you the facts as I understand them. And the reason that I understand them as I do is because they have been given to me by professional and collegiate science. I'll even let you watch their presentation.
Comet Ison Meteor Shower, presented by Science at NASA. The Sungrazer will likely become one of the finest comets in many years. 12,000 pounds of dust were spewing from the comet's nucleus every minute. It turns out some of that dust might end up on Earth. Veteran meteor researcher Paul Weigert has been using a computer to model the trajectory of dust ejected by Comet Ison, and his findings suggest that an unusual meteor shower could be in the offing. For several days around January 12, 2014, Earth will pass through a stream of fine-grained debris from Comet Ison. The resulting shower could have some interesting properties. For one thing, it could dust the surface of the Earth. Don't expect to notice, though. The invisible rain of comet dust, if it occurs, would be very slow. It can take months or even years for fine dust to settle out of the high atmosphere.
What about ages? Could it take ages? Could it take ice ages?
The shower is going to hit our planet from two directions at once. When Earth passes through the debris stream, we will encounter two populations of comet dust. One swarm of dust will be following Comet Ison into the Sun. Another swarm will be moving in the opposite direction, pushed away from the Sun by solar radiation pressure. The streams will pepper opposite sides of Earth simultaneously.
And so the script we've been handed since the beginning says it should be a Comet Ison meteor shower starting about the 12th, which is now, and ending on the 17th. And it might not even be that. It might just be a big 5-day cloud of tiny, fine, micron-sized dust that the Earth passes through. But at this point I feel jaded. I don't know which part of grieving over Ison that is, but that's where I'm at. I'm jaded. And I'm cynical. I don't think we're going to see evidence of anything. This is a THORNEWS presentation. THORNEWS presents all Americans, starting with first responders and emergency managers, need to know this basic life-saving principle. Drop and cover if you see a sudden, very bright light. Hot blankets of fire across the sky. Such a light will be followed by a deadly shockwave within seconds. Ison could have one more trick up its cosmic sleeve. A person's best option for surviving a meteor strike is the same duck and cover created in the 1940s and 50s, when nuclear weaponry was still in its infancy. Baby nukes, they sound cute. Those who drop and cover will probably survive. Those who do not are likely to die. So yeah, be on the lookout for dirty bombs, nuclear weapons, or giant exploding comets in the sky. Randy Rocks looking to pound the Earth hard. Thanks, party people. According to the YouTube, urgent fireballs are raining havoc up and down on the Earth. Cities and forests alike are on fire. And I would imagine multiple deaths can be assumed, but none confirmed. Yeah, according to the YouTube, which is definitely a buyer beware news outlet. Shit is crazy. Even the universe today is saying possible meteor shower for Comet Ison. Conspiracy sites can neither confirm or deny. They can only agree that everyone is an idiot. And me, I'm the biggest idiot of them all. So I'm gonna tell some jokes as I track down hat clown Nazis from outer space and gauge the effect of Ison's double dusting. So yeah, look in Leo if there are gonna be Ison Meteors are gonna come from Leo. So ladies and gentlemen, go out there and look. Don't get your hopes up too high. Man, I ain't seen much. I've been watching too. I've been doing my due diligence, following the story to the bitter letdown end. Bitter letdown end. You know, this whole Ison adventure has really reminded me of Calvin and Hobbes. Calvin's crestfallen awareness of how his beanie helicopter hat would not even come close to his imagination. Perfect metaphor for the metaphor that was Comet Ison. Okay. But I am crestfallen and do feel a bit swindled. Somewhere between, there is a whole lot of nothing here. And, oh my god, it's raining fire and iron. People are dying. Doom 100% is the common ground. And it seems like nothing, man. Totally nothing. NASA said the 12th. Suspicious observer, Reed Richards, said the 14th. Maybe, he didn't say 100%. Some other guy on the Twitter said the 15th and the 16th. And I don't know if you remember. I said, I don't think it's gonna happen, party people. Ain't no partying at this letdown parade. We all just hang our heads and kick the dirt. I feel like Garfield, the grumpy cat. I never really liked Garfield. He wasn't fun, and he was mean to Odie. That's more of a Calvin and Hobbes guy. Sign of the times. Take cover. Meteor fireballs rain down across the U.S. Outbreaks of wildfires reported. Fireballs, meteors, angry flaming fists of God, meteorites, angular arrows, agitated asteroids, and randy rocks looking to pound the earth hard. See? Wackos everywhere. Plague of madness. Hey, remember Comet Ison? Who can forget the roller coaster ride that the touted Comet of the Century took us on last year? Well, Ison could have one more trick up its cosmic sleeve, although that's a big maybe. Man, you guys are downplaying everything. Weird. Yeah, so I'm trying to do my due diligence, staying outside in the cold field, staying up late, 4 a.m., to see if I can see any dust particles falling slowly, like blazes of fire. Hot blankets of fire across the sky. Harmless, though. Keeping me warm. I'm cool, dude. I'm cool. Bruce Wayne eats his birthday cake. I'm gonna be a simple kind of man. Color, size, and shape type stuff. Hey, did you know this channel is my outlet, and videos are a form of expression? Taking photos, fireballs, East Coast, Slovak, Texas, Japan, daytime Australia. You know, meteors have been on an uptick for a while, so we're maintaining above average, but nothing I feel abnormal over the abnormal normal. You follow me, Peace? Follow me, Chief? Yeah, we got some fireballs. Nothing out of the ordinary. We got some meteors. Nothing out of the ordinary. We're going through the space weather fireball all-sky network. See, on January 13th, 5 fireballs reported. January 14th, 12 fireballs reported. January 15th, 6 fireballs reported. That's not a big uptick, people. It's not a big uptick at all. Meteor, likely in upstate New York. But was it caused by Comet Ison? Who knows, bro? Who knows? But if you want, you can still get your fake doom around in the final big letdown parade. Ison ain't that special, unless Ison impregnated the sun. The perihelion affair was cool and cruel. Death not normal. But hey, no one cares how something so small has wings that big. I'm talking nucleus Tacoma. So for people, if it's doom off, it's story off, fade out. 2013 is dead and gone, and 2014 has just begun. To me, outer space is still way more cooler than the television, the sports, or the politics. And I do want to note that in a matter-of-fact kind of way, that Ufos, flying, flaming, unidentified objects are up. Asteroid activity is up. There are multiple reports on conspiracy sites, but many show no photos. They put up old videos. So as of right now, I see no sign of increased activity due to the icing dusting. Doom off. Upstate New Yorkers who heard a loud boom or saw a streak of light across the sky Sunday more than likely witnessed a meteor. According to an astronomy expert, there are random meteors all the time, said Roby. Man, he was a good punter. There's a small chance this might be related to Comet Ison. So what the hell, man? Well, some thought Comet Ison might only bring dust to the Earth. It's not out of the question for it to bring meteors. Comets are litter bugs, Roby slandered. Whenever Earth passes through an old or new comet orbit, it can run into a lot of rocks. Comets are mostly made of ice. Whatever. Comet Ison's demise needs to be studied more, he said. And Troll said, no. Hey, Americans warned of imminent deadly meteor strikes. with NASA reporting a potentially hazardous asteroid nearly a half-mile wide possibly heading towards Earth. Some upstate New Yorkers claiming they experienced a loud boom and a bright light. Well, considering this article had no link back to where NASA said, "Oh my god, a giant asteroid headed towards Earth," pretty sure that would have made the news. I think it's gonna be bullshizzle, bizzle shizzle. Part, yeehaw, it's a parade of jokes. Wow, it is so cold, it is snowing in space. Spaceships, birds, swords and daggers. Venus is high, too high to be on a pedestal, really. It's so good for her. I love her. I do. Venus, I love you and the moon. I'm gonna be a simple kind of man. Hey, did you know this channel is my outlet and videos are a form of expression? Alright, so since Ison, we've had X-class solar flares to extreme drop-offs in sun activity, filaments popping off right and left, proton storms. Alright, I'm now standing in the field looking for Ison meteors. That's the moon. It's got a rainbow ring around it. There's Jupiter. Hey, Jupiter. No big blankets of fire in the sky. No streaking meteors. No strange signs in the heavens. Lord, must my heart breaketh and my romanticism be crestfallen at all times. Alright, later. I can guarantee you, if I'm gonna spend $20,000 on a buzz, it's not gonna be for a man's underwear.
Live, this is One for the Record. I'm Diana, and today is January 16th, 2013. Here are your news updates for today. Let's go into the E&E news, energy news. It's very cold, though, in Florida. I mean, we're freezing. It's very cold. Alrighty then, here we go. Let's do the U.S.-Canada first. Today, NPR affiliate Fukushima cesium detected in Alaska salmon sample. Radioactive plume has already reached West Coast. Concerned fishermen forced to pay for tests since officials not doing it. People don't trust government. They don't trust corporations. Alrighty then. Moving on. E&E news, energy news. Fukushima, Japan. Tomorrow. It's coming in. It's because they're ahead of us. January 17th. Japan TV. It gets worse every minute at Fukushima plant. Groundwater mixing with melted fuel. Gunderson, there's no end in sight because the nuclear core is in contact with groundwater. Today, Gunderson, new development at Fukushima. Essentially, the entire plant has a gamma ray haze over it. A haze of radioactive particles. TEPCO, it's impossible to stop. Using more shielding won't help. Also today, former Prime Minister of Japan. We've been lied to. Nuclear experts lying to us. They've been telling a pack of lies. Governor. TEPCO needs to reveal who gave orders to lie about Fukushima meltdowns. Here we go. Someone's in trouble. Let me read that again. Former Prime Minister of Japan. We've been lied to. Nuclear experts lying to us. They've been telling a pack of lies. Governor. TEPCO needs to reveal who gave orders to lie about Fukushima meltdowns. And I guess the press is not far behind on who said to cover it up. It's coming. Alrighty then. That was pretty refreshing. I'm just reading what it says. Well, it is now 4 days down. It's the eve of Friday. And stay warm, keep your pets in if you're in the middle of this cold in Florida. Oh, it's so cold. I mean, it's really cold. So take care, be prepared for anything, and I'll see you again on the flip side. Stay safe, stay warm, and cover your plants. And keep your pets inside. Alrighty then, take care. I'll catch you tomorrow. Stay tuned. I'm going to attach THORNEWS. He's great. Alright, here we go.
When people hear the word UFO, they tend to tune out. However, the term does not necessarily mean little green men from Mars. It's a scientific term that means unidentified flying object. And there are hundreds, if not thousands, of UFO sightings and reports every year worldwide. In fact, just 2 days ago, flights in Bremen, Germany were grounded, canceled, or diverted due to a UFO showing up multiple times on the airport's radar screen. This comes on the heels of a July event that's now surfacing about a bizarre incident near London's Heathrow Airport, where a pilot was convinced he was going to collide mid-flight with a metallic object shaped like a rugby ball. Both incidents are still being investigated by authorities. Well, these reports are nothing new. Yet amidst the many, many UFO hoaxes, my next guest alleges that a fraction of the sightings are indeed extraterrestrial. His name is Dr. Stephen Greer, and he's the founder of the Disclosure Project, an organization that works with retired military and government officials in order to get Congress to investigate UFOs. But as a skeptic, I had a lot of questions. So I first asked him if he had one incident that he would pick to convince people like me that aliens have indeed made contact with Earth.
That's a tough question because, you know, it's the weight of the evidence, and it's like J. Allen Hynek, who is the Air Force Blue Book guy. He said, look, he says, it's an embarrassment of riches. We have so much material. We have so much information. But if you take for one case that we have in the Disclosure Project, and that's a man who was the senior guy at the FAA, and they were tracking this object over Alaska, and it was at one point in the sky, and in one sweep of the radar, it would be 40, 50 miles away, moving completely non-linearly, not like an airplane. And we have the radar tape, we have the pilot report, we have all the evidence from the airline and the government. And this whistleblower who came forward, John Callahan, he said, I'm one of the senior officials in the government that not only have the evidence, but was part of a cover-up to keep the American people ignorant about it.
And so talk about the Disclosure Project. It's the organization that you founded. Why and how did you formulate it?
You know, it grew out of an interest I had since I was a child. My uncle was an aerospace engineer with Northrop Grumman. And I had a sighting when I was a young child and started an organization later called the Center for the Study of Extraterrestrial Intelligence to look into, are we alone, and what can we do as citizens to bring out this information and perhaps make contact. I mean, it was really kind of a visionary effort 24 years ago when we started it. Disclosure Project started because in my early days I was naive and I thought, well, if we put all this evidence together, government documents, astronauts, cosmonauts from the former Soviet Union who have seen these objects, and we have all this and we give it to, in this case, Bill Clinton and his CIA director, who I personally briefed on this subject, they'll do the right thing in the secrecy, bring out this information. It'll be one of the greatest discoveries in human history. Not only that, it'll bring out the technologies, which, frankly, is the reason behind the secrecy. We'll get to this in a minute. Well, what happened was that the political establishment didn't want to touch this. And so, so what I just found is that little by little, it was up to we, the people, to do it. So I started a grassroots movement to identify people who had the courage to come forward outside of their national security oaths, who had top secret clearances, and give evidence on this, and give materials, and give documents, and give photographs, or whatever they have. And it led to this big global effort called now the Disclosure Project.
I wanted to bring it to Ancient Aliens really quickly because it's a entertaining documentary series on the History Channel. It surmises that ancient cultures have also documented UFOs. I mean, going back hundreds of years. If aliens have been around for thousands of years visiting Earth, why has their message been lost this whole time? Why haven't they delivered it?
Well, I don't know that their message has been lost, but maybe it's been subsumed or incorporated into various ancient traditions. If you look at the Hopis, if you look at Mesoamerica, South America, there are a lot of traditions that may have actually come from encounters that happen with non-human or advanced life forms from other places. Now, this gets into a really tricky area, and it's where theologians have a problem with this, and that is, if you were to encounter something that's hundreds of thousands or millions of years more advanced than we are, every manifestation of their civilization would look miraculous, would look like a miracle or something that you would hear about in a religious text. So the question becomes, how much of the stories that we have from ancient times, ancient cultures, that we take as mythology might have been witnessing things that couldn't be explained even today, never mind 2,000, 5,000, 10,000 years ago.
I also can't help but bring up the Phoenix Lights, because to me, I think that's one of the most fascinating cases.
Yes, I was there the day
Were
it happened.
you?
Yes.
My goodness. Let's play a clip really quick for our audience who don't know about this incident in 1997.
Right.
If you had been here 10 years ago and standing out here and looking up there at the lights and the view, you would have been astounded. You would have been amazed.
Governor Simonton is referring to what is now known as the Phoenix Lights, an object videotaped by many and seen by thousands over several nights in the Arizona sky in 1997.
Major sighting here.
It was described by witnesses as larger than a football field and silent.
And I suspect that unless the Defense Department proves us otherwise, that it was probably some form of an alien spacecraft.
So, Dr. Greer, you have the Arizona governor, you have thousands of people in Arizona who saw this. How is it possible that this is kind of an open and shut case when, you know, so many people saw this, and even he's saying, hey, I'm convinced?
Well, in the Disclosure Project files, we have hundreds of cases like that, some of which are better that the public don't know about. So I tell people should go to our website. It's all up there. The videos, the testimony from all these government officials is all on our website. And so we haven't held anything back except some confidences I've had to keep when I've had meetings at the Pentagon and elsewhere. But what I tell people is that the reason it's hidden in plain sight is that the establishment doesn't want people to know, not so much that there's life out in the universe. There's 2/3 of the public believes that there's intelligent life somewhere out there. Over half believe we've been visited, all right? And this is consistent in polls. It's the technology. How do you put something like that up in the sky and move it, no sound, completely quiet? You're not dealing with fossil fuels. You're not dealing with conventional rockets. You're dealing with an entirely new area of physics, which, if it was disclosed, would mean the end of big oil, the end of the petrodollar, the end of public utilities as we know it. It would be an entirely new energy paradigm. And so the macroeconomic power behind the secrecy is what no one's been looking at. And this is what the Minister of Defense of Canada and I did a press conference on a few years ago, Paul Hellyer, and I did a press conference about this, that it's the energy and technology part of this story that has led to the extreme secrecy and also the extreme ridicule.
Let's talk about your documentary series, because you were mentioning earlier that you've spoken to people who have actually taken these bodies out of crafts. I mean, Dr. Greer, where are these bodies? I mean, in Sirius, you discussed the Atacama skeleton found in Chile as an extraterrestrial being. However, scientific analysis concluded that it's human DNA.
Well, no,
it
actually,
was a human.
we never said it was ET. We said we don't know what it is. And the DNA analysis from Dr. Nolan at Stanford is that 9% of the genetic material isn't matching to humans. Now, as of last week, we just discovered that the stature of this being, which is, now this is a 6...
Can I finish my question really
Yes.
quickly? Because I think even making these allegations before you know, I mean, you're saying that we don't know. Does it discredit your larger attempt to expose the truth about UFOs if you're saying these things? We can't see the beings that have been, you know, supposedly...
Well, no, and I've never been to a facility where they've been autopsied. However, I know men who have been there, and those are the people in the Disclosure Project and who have gone on the record, who actually have been on retrieval teams. So, and those are firsthand things. Now, remember, you know, if the New York Times had 3 people to confirm a very controversial political story, they'd run with it. We have over 110 on digital videotape with top secret clearances, name, rank, and serial number. These are not anonymous. So I tell people, please don't take my word for it. As for the Atacama humanoid, Very controversial. You know, the Huffington Post had 5 million people on their site when this thing broke a few months ago. We still don't know what it is. Now, the people who say it's human, they're jumping the gun. The people who say it's ET, they're jumping the gun.
How can equating UFOs with aliens be credible at this point when we live in a world drone technology has existed? I mean, now it's so prevalent, and it probably has existed for decades prior, Dr. Green. How can we ever tell what's a drone, what's a UFO?
Well, you have to know the science behind it. The drones that people see make a noise, like this case that just happened in Germany. It's very noisy. Those things are not quiet. Now, this does open up another whole discussion of what do we have in our classified projects that might look like a UFO, and do those exist? The answer is yes. We have been designing and building what are called EMG, electromagnetic-gravitic, anti-gravity, pop culture term, not proper, but things that defy gravity, that float and are silent since the 50s, since the 1950s. Now, this highly classified material. You know, the main writer, one of the big writers for Jane's Defense Weekly, Nick Cook, wrote a book called The Hunt for Zero Point, talking about pulling energy from the zero-point energy field and how that's been applied into anti-gravity systems that are very classified at Boeing, Northrop Grumman, Lockheed Martin. So I think that we have to have enough information, if you're investigating this, to know that some of them are just misidentifications. Some actually are extraterrestrial vehicles because there have been creatures and beings seen associated with them. Like the French government case where one of these objects landed and there were 4 creatures outside the UFO in a lavender field. And this is in the official Japan, or the equivalent of their NASA report. So don't take my word, listen to the French government's report. Same thing at the Bentwaters case in England. An object landed, there were ETs seen associated with the landing.
But if it's in these official reports, how come there's no official documentation of the beings? That's what I don't understand.
Well, that's a very good question. You'd have to ask the people keeping the secret. I mean, I wasn't there when those things happened. We've just interviewed and found the people, the men who were there, and some women who were involved hands-on with these encounters. So the ET issue, I think, is very clearly established through the body of evidence we have. But there's something, I think, even more spectacular. And this turns this whole question you asked on its head. If some of these objects that are moving at 100,000 miles per hour and making right-hand turns without decelerating hours, what are we doing using jet engines and rockets? What kind of technologies are extant, are out there that might give us an entirely new civilization without pollution, poverty, what have you? This is, I think, where this is the biggest part of the story. It isn't the ET end of it. It's the high-tech energy and propulsion part of the story, which is at the heart of the secrecy.
That was Dr. Stephen Greer, UFOologist and founder of the Disclosure Project.